Hi, and welcome back to my channel. We have a lot to unpack today. The biggest thing for today is going to be the release of Apple's iPhone 12 line. There's 4 new smartphones. We're going to talk about what that means for the stock and basically my potential purchase of Apple stock. But as we can see, I'm up about $188 on the day, or 1.62%, which is wonderful. If we zoom out to the past week, we can see I'm up 0.14%, which is almost nothing. Over the past month, up 3.25%, or about $400, up nearly $2,000 at the 3-month clip. Over the past year, up $2,944, or 33.14%. And all time now, I'm pushing $3,000 in gains. I mentioned it last week, but I have touched $12,000 in my portfolio a handful of times over the past week, but of course the stock market is up and down, and that has been very inconsistent for me. Total investment in my portfolio is now right at $9,000.
It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!
And last week I invested another $200 into my portfolio. With that $200, I made a couple of moves. First, I actually sold 1 share of GLW, or Corning, at $35.04. I did that to have room for some of my other purchases. I have decided that is going to be one of the stocks that I let go of my portfolio, try to trim things down moving forward. On the purchasing side of things, I purchased 1 share of Microsoft at $213.98. That's actually my 5th share of Microsoft. And last, but certainly not least, I purchased 0.0027 Bitcoin. Total cost there was right at $30. My new position there is 0.2507, and the price was $11,075. That means I am over a quarter of a Bitcoin now. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. But now we'll get into why Apple's iPhone 12 release is such a big deal. And before we get to the article, I want to remind you to subscribe to the channel and comment down below what you think about the video. It helps a ton with the almighty algorithm. As you can see, we have an article here from CNET titled iPhone 12's 4 models compared, differences between iPhone 12, iPhone 12 Pro, Pro Max, and Mini, a spec-by-spec comparison. They said after a month-long delay due to the outbreak, Apple finally announced its latest family of iPhones during a virtual event online Tuesday. They include the iPhone 12, iPhone 12 Mini, iPhone 12 Pro, and iPhone 12 Pro Max. They all feature 5G connectivity, magnetic backing branded as MagSafe that can attach to a number of accessories, and a new ceramic display that promises to be more durable. They point out right here, with that many devices, things can get confusing. So here's a little spec sheet about what we can expect with these phones. So the iPhone 12, 6.1-inch OLED, 12 Mini is going to be about the size of the iPhone 5S, if you can think all the way back to that. 5.4-inch OLED there. Apple iPhone 12 Pro is the same size as the regular 12, and the Pro Max will be 6.7 inches. Pixel density is not super important for what we're talking about. Just for reference, that is significantly lower pixel density than a lot of Android phones, but people who are buying iPhones are not entirely concerned with that. Dimensions, they go into the weight here is pretty interesting. Obviously, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is going to be significantly heavier than all these phones, all, of course, on iOS 14. But when we get down to here, the more interesting things are the special features and the price points. So all of them are 5G, as we mentioned, but the iPhone 12 Pro and iPhone 12 Pro Max are both going to have LiDAR, which is very interesting. And then, of course, the price, as I mentioned. So in the US, if you just walk into the Apple Store, this is what you're going to pay. So the base iPhone 12 is going to start at $830. The iPhone 12 Pro is going to start at $1,000. And the iPhone 12 Pro Max is going to start at $1,100 and go all the way up to $1,400. That is actually a little bit lower than what we've seen from Apple in the past. But I know there are concerns about these super high price points, especially with the market tightening due to COVID. But we'll take a look at Apple's stock since that announcement. And here's Apple's stock currently trading at about $121, down a little bit on the day. If we zoom out to the past week, we can see a large jump. That is very typical when these Apple announcements happen. The bigger question is going to be, what's Apple doing long term? I'm not super interested in what happens day to day, because as I've mentioned many times, I am a big fan of what Warren Buffett has to say, that time in the market is more important than timing the market. Over the past month, Apple is up about 5%. Over the past 3 months, up 25%. Over the past year, up 107%. And over the 5-year clip, up 329%. Of course, Apple's stock split a few months ago, which means that it's much more palatable for investors. The price point is a little bit better than it was. Dividend yield here is very low, but I did read within the past couple of weeks that some of these tech stocks could be great for dividends in the future because they have so much room for dividend growth. A lot of untapped potential there. So if we look into the analyst ratings, we can see a decent buy rating. Their earnings are strong. Q1 of 2020 was extremely high. There are concerns that due to supply chain bottlenecks, the pandemic could be a problem for Apple, but as I mentioned, I think this is going to be my next purchase in the portfolio. You'll just have to wait next week to see what happens, but now we'll get into the rest of my portfolio. First up is Sunrun. We'd like to talk about this one every week because, of course, I actually owned Vivint Solar before Sunrun, and I did receive some of the leftover cash from that. The stock split was 0.55 to 1, meaning that I roughly halved my shares. So I started with 50 shares of Vivint Solar and ended up with 27 shares of Sunrun. And of course, there was a little bit left over. So as I mentioned, that is cash in my portfolio. So up about 3% on the day. It struggled mightily over the past week since that merger, down about 8%. Over the past month, still up 5%. You can see the peak here. The price was $82. It's all the way down to $65. Everything I've read says that this doesn't have anything to do with performance. It's really just market jitters due to that merger. We zoom out to 3 months, up 87%. Over the past year, very similar to what Vivint Solar was looking at, 286%, and at the 5-year clip, up 480%. Still a 78% buy rating here on Robinhood, and I always like to point out earnings. Much better than Vivint Solar earnings-wise, and there's a lot of speculation that because of this merger, they'll be significantly more profitable, so I will make sure to pay attention to that. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I did purchase a 5th share of Microsoft, now trading at $220.15. This is now my second stock holding over $1,000, and if you include Bitcoin, my third total holding over $1,000, so that's very exciting for me. Total return is up $163, or about 17%. Over the past week, up 4%. Over the past month, up 5.5%. 3 months, up 7.5%. Last year, up 56%, and 5 years, up 368%. I've mentioned it quite a few times. I like the fact that there's a ton of room for dividend growth here. Microsoft's cloud infrastructure means they should be a leader in the space. They are behind Amazon in terms of total volume right now in the cloud infrastructure space, but this is such a huge space, especially in the next 5, 10, 20 years. There's plenty of room for both companies. 90% buy rating. I am going to continue to purchase this as much as I can. One of the more speculative stocks in my portfolio is Penn National Gaming. Of course, they own Barstool Sports. Big reason why I have this stock. And the sports gambling industry, as I've mentioned many times, is in its infancy and an industry that I think has a ton of room for growth. So it's trading for about $70 right now. Total return is up 134%, which is terrific. Over the past week, up about 5%. Over the last month, pretty much flat. If we zoom out to 3 months, we can see there were a ton of gains here, a ton of growth, and things have slowly kind of sputtered, but I'm not concerned about that. Over the past year, up 256%, and over the past 5 years, up 272%. I always like to point out that the Barstool acquisition was announced right here, trading for $26, and it has since spiked. Of course, it dropped when all the casinos closed, but it's spiked since then. Another stock that's really in my wheelhouse due to the low price and something that I want to purchase more of. The last stock for today is going to be Charles Schwab. Huge pop, up about 5% on the day. This, as of next week, will actually be the smallest holding in my portfolio, as I'm going to sell that last share of Corning. I'm not sure what to do. Should I hold here? Should I purchase more shares? Should I sell them off? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Total return is down about 10%. As I mentioned before, only those 2 shares. So up 5% on the day, 2% on the week, 11% over the past month, 11% over 3 months, only up about 1% over the past year, and over the past 5 years, up 39%. The big reason for that jump today was due to their earnings call. So earnings were estimated at 46 cents a share, and the actual was 51 cents a share. Better than Q2 of 2020. Not great. We can see they're in sort of a downward trajectory here. And since that merger with TD Ameritrade last year, there's been a lot of questions about how they can remain profitable when you have competitors like Robinhood, Webull, and other stock trading apps that are really undercutting them in the market. So I'm going to continue to pay attention to this one. We always have to talk about Bitcoin trading at $11,323. This is the 1 month graph. We can see up 5% on the month. On the day, down about 0.6%. Zoom out to the week, 3.84. We're skipping around here. 3 months is 23% over the past year, up 38%, and 5 years up 4,517%. Total return is now up $416.20, or about 17% on that return. Equity is $28.41. My average cost is still below $10,000, which is great to see, and it makes up about 24% of my portfolio. I mentioned a little bit earlier that I just passed that 25% mark of a single Bitcoin, which is very exciting for me. I would really like to be at the 1 Bitcoin mark by the end of next year, when I believe it's going to peak. That's going to be a really tough marker to hit. I've seen estimates ending the year between 13 and 14,000 for Bitcoin, but I'm just not sure. There's a lot of speculation, especially with something like Bitcoin, but I think it's a very interesting topic. Let me know what you think about Bitcoin down in the comments, and I'll be back with another video next week. Thanks.